Now this is Vimbai, and she'd just been made redundant, and her skilled worker visa clock was ticking. She had 50 applications out and 0 interviews back. And then 2 months later, she landed a £57,000 job offer with a visa sponsorship before her Home Office letter actually even arrived. I coach candidates who need visa sponsorship every single week, and about 60% of the people I work with need it. Now, I'm going to tell you something that most international candidates don't understand. Visa sponsorship is not the barrier everyone thinks it is. It's a logistic step and nothing more. And the real problem is that international candidates sound like every other international candidate. Recruiters hear visa and then the trust dies. And that's what's actually killing your application. So let me walk you through the exact system that Vimbai used, because if you're sitting in the same spot right now, this is what's going to work. So let me set the scene. Vimbai had been working in London for a few years. She had a finance role at a big insurance firm on £52,000 salary. She was on a skilled work visa and everything was just fine. And then redundancy, just out of nowhere. And if you're on a skilled worker visa, the rules are brutal. Like once your job ends, the Home Office gives you 60 days to find a new sponsor, or you have to leave the country. Like no extensions, no second chances, and just the clock ticking. So she did what everyone else does. She panicked and she started sending out applications, 50, 60, 70 of them within 2 weeks. And she was getting 0 interviews, like literally none. And the minute she'd mentioned sponsorship on a recruiter call, she could hear the tone change. The calls got shorter, the follow-up stopped. And you might be sitting in the exact same spot right now. So here's what we did. It's a 4-step system, and every single step matters. So step 1 is building a personal brand. The first thing we did was stop sending applications straight away. And I know that sounds insane with the visa clock running out, but if your applications are not working, then more of them is not going to fix the problem. The problem with Vimbai's applications was it wasn't her CV. Her CV was pretty decent. The problem was that she sounded like every other international candidate asking for a sponsorship. So what we did is we sat down and we built her a personal brand from scratch. Now, she'd been a competitive swimmer growing up, and for years of obsession with marginal gains, discipline, and data-driven performance. And that was her story. She took that story and wrapped it around her finance work. High-performance mindset, cross-industry background, finance operations specialist, not just an accountant. And that story went on her LinkedIn, her CV, her networking messages, every single touch point, before any application went anywhere. Because the whole point of personal branding is this. You give the employer a reason to want you before they even know about the visa. The visa just becomes logistics. Your story becomes the reason. Now, step 2 is target the right companies. Now, here's a stat that most international candidates don't know, and it's pretty scary. There are only 808 companies in the UK right now with the valid visa sponsorship license, and 372 of them are actively hiring. There's over 10,000 jobs across the whole sponsored list. Now, most candidates apply to the same 10 or 15 companies, the big names that everyone piles in, and then the reply rate becomes 0. And look, I'm not saying don't apply to those big names. I know they look good on your CV, but I'm also saying don't only apply to them, because the competition is brutal and they know you need the visa more than they need you. So we built Vimbai a target list, not just the big banks, mid-sized fintechs, ESG startups, B Corps, university finance departments like local councils. All of them sponsor skilled workers, and all of them have a fraction of the applications. So some of them actually get grants for hiring international talent, and they want someone like Vimbai. So you just have to find them. Now, step 3 is stop applying and start networking instead. Now, this is a big one, and it's the part that most people resist the most. So with Vimbai, she'd be sending out 50 applications and getting 0 replies. So we killed the applications completely, and we started focusing on networking instead. I teach this networking system as a LATR framework. LATR stands for list, ask, track, and repeat. So list means make a list of real decision makers inside your target companies, not random LinkedIn connections, heads of finance ops, heads of internal audit, the people who can actually say yes to hiring you. The ask means you reach out with a single message and you don't ask for a job, you ask for advice. So Vimbai's first message was something like this. Hi, I noticed that you also studied the ACCA and started insurance. I'm on the same path now. Which area helped you most early on? That's it. No CV, there's no ask, there's no pitch. It's just a real question about a real thing she cared about. And the amazing thing is that people replied. Some got on calls with her, some mentioned roles they had open on their team, some even introduced her to the hiring managers. And none of that was happening when she was firing off applications. And then we go on to track, and that just means log every single conversation in a spreadsheet or in a Notion doc, whatever works, but the company, the name, the date, and what was said with the next step as well. Because when you're running 30 conversations at once, you will forget. And the follow-up is where most of the offers come from. And then the final stage is then repeat. And this means you keep the machine running every single day, 5 new people, follow up with the ones from last week. That is it. Every day until you sign that offer. And then the final step is step 4, is controlling the visa conversation. So when the interviews started coming, we rehearsed one thing really carefully, the visa conversation. Now, most international candidates hide it. They avoid the topic and they wait until the offer stage and then they drop the bomb. And that's the worst thing you can do. Recruiters can sense the avoidance and the trust dies the second it finally comes up. So Vimbai, she did the opposite. She brought it up really early in the application process, within the first or second call. And she said it clearly. I require a sponsorship. Your own company is a licensed sponsor. I'm committed to building a long-term career here. Then she moved the conversation straight back to the value that she would bring. And she didn't dwell on it. Like, she didn't apologize. She didn't over-explain it. She just stated it as a fact and then carried on. And here's the other thing that mattered, because she had 5 or 6 conversations running at once. She wasn't desperate. She actually had options, and the employer could feel it. So when you're a professional deciding between opportunities, you're not begging for help. You're evaluating offers, and that completely changes the energy on the call. So here's what happened. 6 weeks later, she had the offer, £57,000, and that was a 14% pay increase from her previous role. She was an internal audit specialist at a financial services firm with a 1-year visa clause, and most companies insist on 2 or 3. So it's flexible working, the team meets once a month in the office, and she signed the offer before her home office letter even arrived. And she went from complete desperation with a tight deadline to landing a better job with better terms in under 2 months. And this is the point I want you to take away. Visa sponsorship is not the barrier. I'm going to say it again because most people don't believe it. Visa sponsorship is not the barrier. The barrier is sounding like every other international candidate. The barrier is applying to the same 10 companies as everybody else. And the barrier is hiding the visa until the offer stage. And when you fix all of those things, the visa becomes a formality. And about 60% of candidates I work with need that sponsorship, and they all use this exact system. So if you're sitting in the exact same situation right now, the visa clock is running out, no interviews coming in, applications aren't getting anywhere, I've built all of this inside the Offer Accelerator. The personal brand templates, the target sponsor list, the networking scripts, the visa conversation framework, everything that Vimbai used is inside. And the link is in the description if you want to check it out. And look, like, whether you join or not, just do me one favor. Stop firing off applications. That's the thing that's killing you right now. So build the story first, then the sponsor list, then the outreach, then the conversation. In that order. That's how you're going to go from a desperate, tight deadline situation to landing a job offer in the UK.